Hi everyone, it's my pleasure in this video to be able to welcome one of the leading crypto accounting companies around in Myna, who will be answering some questions on UK crypto tax for us. And given that I'm including an online inquiry form in the description to my videos, where you can contact Myna directly should you be looking for specific crypto tax advice, which they certainly offer, I thought it'd be nice for you to see and meet the people behind the company through their CEO and founder, Joe David, and head of crypto tax, Jamie Nuttall, at the same time. And just a quick reminder that if this is of interest, you just need to make sure you put my name and YouTube channel in the referral box when you're completing the online inquiry form, just so they know where you've come from. And in this video, I'll be asking some questions about crypto tax in the UK, ranging from more basic to complex areas. And this will be in 3 parts, so you can make sure you keep an eye out for the other 2 parts on YouTube. And we'll try to cover as many questions as we can from those that have kindly been added to my recent video or post, so you may recognize some. Although I think it's important to say that we couldn't cover every question about crypto tax, unfortunately. So apologies if we don't get round to your particular one. So please do like this video and subscribe to the channel so I can continue to offer more content for you in future. Just a reminder that nothing contained here is financial advice, and let's jump straight in. Firstly, I'd like to introduce the founder and CEO of Myna and Nefos, Joe David. So, hi Joe. Firstly, I'd just like to say thank you so much for doing this and for speaking on the channel.
Thanks, James. It's really good to be here and introduce ourselves to your community.
Oh yeah, thanks. So, as the founder and CEO, and given that you'll be hopefully jumping on calls again on the channel in future, perhaps you could say a few words about Nefos and Myna. For example, how they work, why there are 2 different companies there, and what do you offer both traditionally and in crypto?
Yeah, thanks, James. So they were both born from the same cloth, if you like, in that we really wanted to be that business partner and supporting our clients and working with them. And naturally that found ourselves, with crypto and crypto clients who, typically do need a little bit more support, and guidance and navigation, because partly the rules aren't 100% clear, and secondly because typically it's the first time that they've been doing something like this. So so we offer a full suite of services, professional services, from accounting for your business, your personal tax, your personal residence if you're looking to move to another country. We have wealth management. And also corporate structuring, so we can help you structure that business or project or idea if you're looking at that wider picture. So yeah, that's but us, we're based in the UK. The majority of our team are in the UK. We have some in South Africa, some in India, and myself out in Dubai. So yeah, quite spread out. But yeah, we're a growing team and excited to work with you and your community.
That's great, thanks. And finally, perhaps you could also share just a bit about your story in business and crypto also.
So I guess really the crypto journey started in 2018. That's when we picked up our first crypto client. And at that time, didn't know a great deal about it, I'll be honest. It was more by luck than judgment. And then it was 2020 that I really started to spend a lot of time in the space, really understanding what was going on, YouTube, reading things, and really starting to understand the mechanisms of what crypto was, what it was about, how it all worked. And that led us, to realize that there was a huge gap for us to fill in, not just a space that we thought was interesting, but one that we were passionately, involved in. And by this point I was investing in crypto, etc. So yeah, Myna was born in 2021, which was the start of the journey, if you like, more officially. And we've never looked back since. I spend most of my time, much to my family's dismay, outside of work, in crypto, whether that's again watching videos and listening to podcasts or even trying to trade myself. Sometimes not very good. But yeah, so we're just, I think that's the core thing for us, is we are we are not just somebody servicing the industry, we're actually in the industry ourselves and operating within it, and therefore we're kind of a client of ourselves as well, if that makes sense. So I think that's a really super important part of it, is that we're such a huge part of the community. So yeah, it's exciting and really glad to be here to help your community and the people listening to these videos.
Honestly, thanks so much for that, Joe, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks, James. Yeah, really appreciate you giving us this opportunity, and I think it's fantastic that you're giving your community the support and education that they need. So yeah, really look forward to being on future videos, and yeah, once again, thanks for working with us on this. Speak to you soon.
Okay, so I'd now like to introduce the head of crypto tax at Myna, Jamie Nuttall, who's really kindly agreed to run through some of the UK crypto tax questions with us today. So, hi, Jamie.
Hi there. Good
Hello.
to be here.
Yeah, lovely to speak to you. Thank you so much for jumping on and joining us. I know you're an expert compared to me in terms of kind of crypto accounting and crypto tax and all the rules in the UK. It's a bit of a weird one for me because I'm going to be the person asking you the questions. I'm used to kind of doing the talking, so I'm going to be more like a journalist here. But perhaps you'd just like to introduce yourself to everybody, kind of say what you do at Myna, how you help people with crypto accounting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly going to be a different pace for you, I guess, today, but all exciting stuff. So yeah, my name is Jamie Nuttall, and I am the head of crypto tax at Myna. We're one of the, if not the leading crypto tax accountancy firm in the whole of the UK. So for a plethora of reasons, if I'm honest. For starters, I am a fellow member of the ACCA. Our whole team are either part of some form of organization or governing body, or at least working our way to it, much like any other accountancy firm. I suppose the difference really is the fact that we are knee deep in the crypto space ourselves. So, for example, the last time I bought a meme coin was within the last 24 hours, if I'm perfectly honest with you. But at the same time, myself, our managing director, Joe, and our non-executive, we're all part of the Bored Ape Yacht Club. So that ecosystem. I'm actually wearing the merch by pure chance here, but we've got Mutant Apes. So yeah, we're knee deep in it, and we're sort of leading the charge in terms of taxation in the UK with all sorts of crypto assets due to its complexities and the necessary knowledge behind having both the tax expertise as well as crypto. So for example, I've been doing taxes for nearly a decade now, in terms of from studying all the way through to where I am now, as well as being in the crypto space since about 2018, early 2018 myself. So not an early adopter, but certainly much earlier than most people who are accountants at very least, which is exactly why we do what we do, apart from the sheer love of it.
And that is honestly one of the things that attracted me to you and to Joe, which is that you're in crypto yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's probably an understatement as well. We are genuinely a lot more exposed than we should perhaps be. But I won't say too much in case Binance are listening.
No. Just in case people weren't aware, you mentioned ACCA there. What is that? Just so people can understand.
Yeah, so it's just I'm chartered and certified as an accountant. So there's lots of different governing bodies like Chartered Tax Advisor, CTA, ACA, ICAEW, all sorts, AAT, ATT. They're just accreditations to effectively say that you've done a set of exams and you've passed certain things to be able to have that accreditation. You don't need to as an accountant. You really don't need to. I just tend to highlight it so people know that I'm not a random cowboy just saying things, genuinely an accountant, and should know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. That yes, you offer crypto accounting services, but you're also a qualified accountant. So I think that's big. What are the kind of people that you help at Myna? So is your client base generally? Is it a range or?
Oh, absolutely. So at Myna, we have the probably both ends of the spectrum and everything in between in terms of the people and personnel and entities within the crypto space. So from one end, we would have your general retailer who's exposed to perhaps some form of DeFi protocol, does a little bit of buying and selling, all the way through to sort of large decentralized exchanges, internationally renowned, where we support at a completely different level to the former. And of course, everything in between as well.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So let's jump in. And before we start, I'd just like to reiterate or tell people really that anything that we cover here, because it's a Q&A session, but nothing is financial advice and nothing is tax advice, because everybody's specific circumstances are different. Even if we're kind of all in the UK, as it were, or based in the UK. And if you are looking for specific help with crypto accounts or you have questions, whether that's now or in the future, please do contact Myna, because this is more of a generic Q&A video.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just to carry out that a little bit further and really specify everyone's individual circumstances vary extremely so. So we'll do our best to be as poignant and accurate as possible. It's just very difficult when everyone's positions are individual and unique. But yeah, absolutely that. Feel free to get in contact us at mynaccountants.co, not .com, not .co.uk, just in case you weren't aware. I'm on Twitter. We're quite prominent on Twitter as well, Myna Accountants. My personal Twitter is CryptoTaxJME. Feel free to tweet me as well, or James. I'm sure James will tag me, or vice versa, and we'll be happy to help where possible.
Yeah, definitely. And I have also included a link. So on top of that, in the description to this video. So if you want to get in contact with Myna and are looking for crypto accounting services, please do fill in the online inquiry form in the description here. You just need to literally put my name and my YouTube channel in the referrer box, just so Jamie and Myna know kind of where you've come from, essentially. So
I'll take that step further for you as well, James. I don't think we've discussed this, but I would like to offer your viewers, anyone that does so, 1 hour free consultation on top of that as well. So make sure you do put James's name in there, and we'll certainly not charge you for the first hour of that consultation.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you, Jamie. That's nice. So let's jump in. So the first question is really general and I think quite broad, but why do you need to pay crypto tax, or why do you need to pay tax on your crypto in the UK?
Yeah, it's a good question. I know it's very basic, but fundamentally, you are generating income or generating gains, which, in accordance with the UK law, would be subject to some form of taxation, to be honest with you. We won't go into particular detail right this second in terms of the two regimes and all that, but you absolutely need to pay taxes on it. And some people believe it's considered gambling, or at least was considered gambling. Both are false. Historically, from day dot, even if there wasn't publications from the government or HMRC or anyone else, it was still considered as some form of taxable event in a lot of situations. If you're just buying, then it's not, but it's still going to contribute towards that overall tax bill. So yes, absolutely taxable, not gambling. A lot of people think it was, and some people think it still is. No, that is not the case.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you. Maybe we can unpick that a little bit more, because most people will need to pay capital gains tax on their crypto gains. And we know, we've discussed this, that the AEA, which is the annual allowance, as it were, has just dropped to £3,000. Perhaps you could explain that a little bit more in terms of capital gains tax disposal and the AEA.
Yeah, sure. So it's not the annual allowance. That's something else. That's for your pension contributions. It's the annual exemption. Very small difference there. So for those that wanted to Google it, make sure you put in annual exemption. It was £12,300 that you could earn tax-free as a gain from your assets, whether it be property, shares, and of course, crypto assets. That reduced for the 2023 tax year down to 6,000, sorry, apologies, in the 2024 tax year, so April 23 to April 24, down to £6,000 per annum per person. And now the current tax year we're in, so 2024 all the way through to April 2025, has been further reduced to £3,000, which is a significant bump down. What this means is a lot more people will be subject to submitting their tax returns and declaring their taxes. £12,300 in gains is not a tall feat, but it's certainly a feat to overcome in order to need to pay taxes. But £3,000. If you've been in the space since 2017, I'll be highly surprised if you're not making £3,000 worth of gains in this current tax year. So yeah, it's an absolute significant drop, and anything above that would be subject to taxes at your appropriate bracket. So it might be 10%, it might be 20%, but that is the absolute maximum tax in the UK for capital gains is 20%. Even if you make billions, it's 20%.
That's really interesting because it was just over 12,000 and now it's 3,000. So essentially you're paying capital gains tax on over £9,000 more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now than you would have done before. Yeah.
Absolutely. So that would be a 1,800-ish effective additional tax just for doing the same thing that you would have done in the previous years, let alone anything you would be doing in addition to that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. You mentioned the 10% and 20% as well. When would someone need to pay 20% capital gains tax rather than 10%? When do they apply?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we've got bands in the UK when it comes to taxation. So we've got the basic rate band, apologies. We've got the higher rate band, and then we've got the additional rate band. And these bands are determined by your overall level of income. So it's not just your crypto gains, or in some cases, miscellaneous income. It's not just your self-employment. It's not just your PAYE. It's all of that together, and it kind of builds this picture. So on a very basic level, if we just take capital gains into consideration here, the basic rate band for that is that you get your annual exemption. And then after your annual exemption of whatever it is, depending on the tax year, about £37,000 after that is your basic rate band, which would be at 10% tax. And then anything above that would be your 20% tax. And then that would be your higher rate tax. There is no additional rate tax for capital gains. It just stops at 20%, which is fantastic. Now, with your income tax, it goes 20% for basic rate. So that would be, again, you get 12,000 plus tax-free for that, your personal allowance. Then after that, so it brings you up to about £50,000, it would be at 20%. Anything above that would be at 40% up to 150. And then after that is 45% tax. So you can see there's a big difference between the two. And it's very important to know when you would be paying what sort of tax bracket. Now, most people, I think the average wage in the UK is about £35,000. So if we take that as a rough estimate or levels of income, that would mean that if you have, say, £50,000 worth of gains on top of that, you would apply your annual exemption, 12,300, 6,000, 3,000, whatever it is, depending on the tax year. And then after that, the balance, the difference between, say, 30,000 and the 50,000 sort of limit, once you've got your allowances, etc., anything within that basic rate that's left over that isn't used by your personal allowance would be subject to 10%. And then anything after that would be subject to 20%. Now, you can choose which order you want to stack it. Don't worry about that too much. Even if you use HMRC software to submit your tax returns, it should theoretically do that in the most tax efficient way. And certainly if you use an accountant, our software systems and of course knowledge would do that for you. So it's a bit complicated, but it kind of stacks on top of each other. It's not two separate bands. They're all together, even though they're two separate tax rates.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if you're a higher rate taxpayer, let's say, for example,
yeah,
you can pick a figure. Was it about 50,000? Just over 50,000?
Yeah, just over 50. So call it 55,000 plus.
Yeah.
Arguments.
So you earn that, and let's ignore other income, and then you make a gain. Let's say, hopefully, a large gain in crypto of, I don't know, let's say another 50,000.
Yeah.
You're paying 10% up to a certain limit, and then 20% on the rest.
Yeah. So in that situation, if we give a sort of theoretical figure of 55,000, that's blown past the basic rate band. So all of that will be, well, a lot of that will be taxed at 20% after the allowances, etc. And then your usual PAYE, the little bit will be at 40%. Because you've got £50,000 worth of gains in this situation, all of that would be subject to 20% tax after the £3,000 annual exemption for this year, 6,000 for the previous year, etc. Now, please bear in mind, if you have shares or if you have sold a property, you may have used your annual exemption. So it needs to be a bigger picture, but effectively it will be 20% on the whole lot. Nothing would be at 10%.
Yeah. And then if you're going to you're a higher rate taxpayer, you increase your gains to 100,000. You can only take 3,000 off that.
Yep.
So then you're essentially paying 20% on 97,000. So you can see how, yeah, that's really interesting. And
And
what?
it could be billions of pounds. It genuinely could. There's no limit to that 20% at the moment.
Yeah, what I would say, I think it's quite a good time to mention this, which is that it does get quite nuanced and it is quite involved, and everyone is different. And I know this myself. So again, if you do have any specific questions, I would advise contacting Jamie at Myna, and taking advantage of that free hour that you've just you've just mentioned.
I've put it on record now. I can't take it back.
No, you can't. No. So how can people actually pay their? You've alluded to this, but how can people actually pay their crypto tax? Where do people need to go to do that?
Yeah, it's just like any other taxes. You create an account online with HMRC and you submit your taxes. It's fairly straightforward. Now, with crypto taxes, you can do the same, just like any self-employed person. It's all in the same sort of area, if you like, and portal. If you don't feel comfortable doing it yourself, because it is called a self-assessment, you assess yourself and it's your ultimate responsibility, you can hire someone to do it for you and you don't have to worry about any of that where it's all done by us, for example, and then you would have to pay by logging into the portal or sending them a check. I don't think most people would do that nowadays, but you can even send a bank transfer. They don't accept crypto at the moment as payment, unfortunately, so you would have to be in fiat, but it's very straightforward, as well, straightforward as it can be.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you. That was a pretty boring question, so I apologize for that.
No, no,
I'm
it's important because some people just, who do I pay? Where do I go? Do I have to, it's a lot more straightforward.
Yeah, I am realizing the role of a journalist here, though, in terms of
Yeah.
how to pick and choose questions.
No, absolutely fine. It's I think a lot of people will have that question, so completely valid.
Let's jump to maybe a more interesting question, though. So, what would you say, just kind of off the top of your head, as it were, what's the most complex, I don't know, crypto tax return or client or someone that you've worked with so far that kind of springs to mind?
Yeah, so we had one particular client who had in excess of 5.3 million transactions that we needed to deal with. Most software, because again, we'll touch upon this later, you need to use some form of software. Most softwares cap out at about 125, 200,000. And this wasn't on a sort of mainstream chain, if you like, either. It's a very bespoke, unique chain, and name something in the crypto space you could do. This person did it. Absolutely everything involved. We had to seek external aid in terms of amalgamating the data, rolling everything up to an appropriate sort of way. Before we even start looking at the taxes itself and dealing with the data, etc. So yeah, extremely complicated, as well as a lot of transactions. I don't particularly want to talk about our prices today, but our prices are relative to level of transactions and how complicated it is, as well as the ability to use the data. And this guy, absolutely blows out the water on all three fronts. Yeah, extremely interesting and probably our most complicated case because of the sheer volume, if anything else.
That's pretty impressive. And I think that links to what Joe said earlier at the beginning, and what you've talked about, which is the level of knowledge and depth that you can go into in terms of crypto accounting. That's really impressive. What can HMRC actually see? When, because a lot of people talk about DeFi, for example, and then presume that they're kind of hidden in DeFi when it comes to crypto tax. Do you want to touch on that a little bit in terms of centralized exchanges, DeFi?
Yeah, sure. So I'm making a few assumptions here on the question. For example, that with they're talking specifically around KYC for starters, with DeFi wallets, etc. And I get that. I understand what they're saying, and there's two sides to it. The first side is who's reporting to HMRC with KYC information. Absolutely, that would be knowledge that they will have. The other side of that is we're all interacting on an immutable blockchain. Okay. It's in there, it's in the public. It cannot be changed. It hopefully can never be changed. As far as I'm aware, the Bitcoin blockchain has never been hacked, let alone anything else. So what this means is this data is out there for all to see. All I need is your wallet address to know exactly what you're doing. Now, Number one, if you're interacting with your KYC wallet, which most people do to on and off ramp, perfectly normal, it's quite easy to figure out majority of your wallets that are connected to it. Now, if you're not, it's a little bit harder. However, the data is still there. All it takes is for a little bit of technology and perhaps AI to amalgamate that data to see who owns what to a certain degree. Now, I'm sure you've got viewers right now going, Jamie, that technology exists right this second. They're absolutely correct. It does. It just needs a little bit of a push to be more readily available for institutions, much like HMRC, and for HMRC to have the resources as well as the inkling of how much they could recoup from this initial investment of diving into it. Absolutely will happen. It's not a case of if HMRC and other governmental bodies around the world will do it. It's a case of when. I think it is very important. And whether it's DeFi or CeFi makes no difference whatsoever. The law is if you have taxes to pay, you pay your taxes. The question might allude to them trying to not pay their taxes. Would never, ever want anyone see anyone do that. It's just a big can of worms. Yes, it's harder for people to see it, but that's not the point. It's still, one, it's still visible. And two, if you're breaking the law, you're breaking the law, whether it's visible to and KYC or not. So it's a very popular theory and assumption that DeFi, or if you're not KYC to it, it doesn't matter. It certainly is harder for people to find out, but not impossible, not by a long shot. If I can do it with my team, then I'm sure HMRC will be able to do it very soon, if not already.
That's part of what you do, isn't it? Essentially, you're working out taxable events. So yeah, that's really interesting.
And a big part of it is protecting our clients against anything that could come. So if we find a wallet address that we see is connected, for example, to what they're doing, we ask the question, is this your wallet? Is this a friend's wallet? Like, what's going on here? Because we need to present as accurate and appropriate data as possible. Don't get me wrong, no one's perfect. That everyone in the world makes mistakes at some point, but we still try and make it almost as close to 100% as humanly possible.
Yeah, and I suppose it's also that other side that if you're non KYCing and operating in DeFi, and then suddenly you report a large amount of money or fiat ends up in your bank, then I suppose it's the questions that could arise from that.
Yeah, even if we put aside the fundamental fact that you should be reporting your taxes, even if we put that aside, if you didn't for any reason and you wanted to use that money, the only way really to do that is by breaking the law even further, because you're going to have to start building a bigger alliance. And it's just, again, ignoring the fact that it's completely illegal, you probably won't be able to use it. I've got clients that struggle to get to purchase any large asset like properties with their crypto, even when they do get it right, let alone, I can only imagine what it would be like if you didn't. So yeah, you're not even in the gray area. It's just a big issue there. And again, I'm not here to preach. I'm on your side. I'm an investor myself. Nobody wants to pay taxes. I just make sure that we pay the appropriate taxes as it is the law.
So that ends this particular video on UK crypto tax regulations, and hopefully that's helped. But do look out for the other two videos where I ask Jamie some more questions. It certainly is a bit of a minefield and quite stressful if you've made quite a lot of transactions over a period of time. So having someone there who's qualified, experienced, and knowledgeable in the field can save you a lot of time. And I'd like to just thank Jamie and Joe for giving up their time and sharing their expertise here. And if you are interested in getting specific crypto tax advice with Myna, then you can contact them directly using the link in the description to this video, which will take you to an online inquiry form. And you just need to add my name and YouTube channel in the referrer box, just so they know where you came from. And a great starting point is also Koinly, the automated crypto tax software that I did a video on in my channel also. And there's a link to sign up for a free Koinly account in the description to this video here also. If you have any other questions about crypto tax at all, please do add them in the comments to this video, and we'll do our best to answer them in another video in future. And if you are interested in more of a tailored approach to your crypto education, and you think you'd benefit from having someone look over your shoulder and guide you on your journey, I do offer one-to-one coaching to those who have the desire and the means to educate themselves further. And there are links in the description where you can message me and book in a free video call to see if we'd be a good fit. And if you found this content interesting, please do like the video and subscribe to the channel, as it really does help. And have a great day.